Hi everybody, Keith and Sarah, the Leaders Lyceum. Welcome back to Weekly Thought Fuel. Hey, where we left you last week, we were talking about design thinking and how it can be applied to growing ourselves and innovating ourselves as leaders. And we asked you to think about who are your users, who are the people that you have influence with. And I don't know if you remember this, but the first step in design thinking is really not just identifying your user, but really empathizing with your user. And so tell us a little bit about what that means.
Yeah, I love the word empathy because it involves such an emotional connection, which I think is really important. But it's this idea of learning to understand your user maybe even more deeply than they know themselves, to understand things that they may not even be able to put into words, the things that really matter the most to them, the things they really care about, the things that really stress them out. Observing them, asking questions, and really being willing to dig deeper beyond kind of the surface, which is where we typically stay, especially in a professional environment, is we just kind of take things at their the first level of answers. But to say, no, I'm gonna take on a beginner's mindset and set aside the expectation that I'm the expert, that I'm supposed to know these things, that I can just figure it out, and go in and ask questions and say, tell me about this, and tell me why that matters to you, and why do you like this, and why do you not like this, and really being willing to go to those personal places to understand more about your user is really important to be able to understand them to the point that you can then create something for them, even if that something is yourself.
Yeah, so, I bet a lot of folks are like me, and I know that sometimes I come in and the mindset I have is my mindset, right? And so I hear somebody, I ask them a question, and the question may even be good. Like, hey, what's one thing I could do differently to make you more effective? Maybe that's a question that could give you insight. I hear that answer and I'm like, oh, I know exactly what they mean by that. And
Right.
You're talking about going deeper than that.
Yeah. So you are really good at the skill set of active listening and making sure that you really hear someone and understand them, not just that you heard the words, but saying, okay, let me say this back to you. What I heard you saying is, did I get that right? And if so, tell me more.
So what I heard you saying is I'm really good at this skill set. Did I get that right?
Yeah, that's
Tell me
not
more.
quite-
Okay, that's not
quite
what you're talking about. Okay.
But this idea of really taking the time to listen and understand, not listen to then move on to the next thing, which is what we tend to do because we don't have time and we are expected to have answers. So
Yeah, I love this active listening thing, and the degree that you can give someone back what they're saying. And if you've gotten it right, the tell me more, I have found myself when people have done this to me, they've repeated back, I found myself saying more than I even thought I knew in the beginning because I was given the opportunity. It seemed like a safe place.
Yeah, I think that's really important, is that it is a conversation where the person does feel really safe, which means if you're the one asking the questions, being really respectful, very curious, very optimistic, no judgment. And just genuinely I really just want to understand you. So I would say kind of your homework for this week, if we can give you homework, is maybe with the person that you identified last week as a user of your leadership skills, for lack of a better language, but the person that you have influence with, is going and asking them some questions and then using some active listening to really understand what they're saying. And some great questions, just some best practices, are asking people about extreme circumstances
What do you
from
mean
their
by that?
past. So tell me about the favorite boss you've ever had, or what's been the most stressful job you've ever had. Those kind of what's the best, what's the worst.
What was your favorite project? What was hardest about? All those superlative kind of questions.
Yeah. And then asking those questions to dig deeper to really understand what are the things that they love, what are the things they care about, what are their pain points, and really understanding that. So then later on, when we get further in the process, you can then modify your leadership for that person to meet them where they are.
And you know what? The great way to end that conversation, instead of sharing your point of view, is just to say, thank you. That was really interesting. So try that out this week. And until then, until next week, we will see you. Thanks.
Bye.